Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Bounding into Comics weekly discussion live stream for The Mandalorian. My name is Spencer Bakuli. I'm the associate editor of Bounding into Comics, and I am joined by the ever handsome Don Edmonds. How are you doing, Don?
Wonderful. I think we should just get right into it. It's been how many hours since the episode dropped? I think everybody's seen it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everybody's seen it. Before we start, I see we've got some people in the chat already. I want to say shout out to YouTube Me. I definitely think a lot of people agree with you where a lot of the goodwill was burned by all the other actors except for Gina. So I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed seeing her return this episode. And hey, Lopter, what's going on? Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Orange Hat Reviews, you're back again to keep us on our toes. Love it. All right. So, as Don said, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll just jump right into it, yeah?
Sure.
So, this episode begins pretty much where we left off with the last one, where the Mandalorian took off from Trask on his way to find Ahsoka Tano on, I forget the planet he was going to.
Corvus?
Yes. Ahsoka Tano is on Corvus, according to Bo-Katan, and the Mandalorian has decided to take Baby Yoda to Ahsoka Tano. But, of course, as we saw at the end of the last episode, his ship is really in need of a lot of repairs, so he's kind of hobbling through space. So we open on Baby Yoda helping him try and do some repairs in a pretty cute scene, I would say, just because those scenes tend to be pretty cute. But I also think it throws a much bigger wrench into the conversation we're never going to get away from, which is like, how old mentally is Baby Yoda? Because like I keep thinking back to the egg genocide debate, and everybody was saying, oh, he's just a child, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's like a little baby. But I don't think I could ask a baby to like color coordinate wires for me.
Yeah, I think also it rings back to Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I was like, they did it better in that movie. Why are you doing this now? I mean,
they did it better in that movie because it made more sense for the character.
Right.
Groot was shown to be like a little older, like he was just like he was a baby, but he was still young. He still knew what he was doing. He still had all his memories. Baby Yoda keeps fluctuating between like, I would say like middle schooler and toddler, and it's really confusing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where to place it. And yes, YouTube Me, of course it was a desert or an ice planet. And this episode we got a desert planet. I guess last episode could be an ice episode if you count it as like melted ice.
Was it desert or more like Mediterranean?
I thought it was more, I always thought Navarro was just like a grayscaled Tatooine. That's what it always looks like.
Orange Hat Reviews will probably correct us with any inconsistencies we have.
He's our little midichlorian angel on our shoulders. But so they're in space. Baby Yoda's trying to help him do some repairs. The Mandalorian realizes they really can't get to Corvus like this, so he decides to stop by Navarro to make some repairs, and of course visit our good friends Carl Weathers and Gina Carano. Oh,
episode directed.
Hey Drew, how's it going?
What
we are
up?
now joined by the Supreme Heretic Drew. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on?
Not much. We're just getting right into the episode.
Yeah, I thought that it was pretty good.
Yeah, right?
You know, it's funny is I'm starting to actually finally become more invested in this show. I mean,
dude, last week you were masturbating so furiously to Katie Sackhoff, you couldn't even come on.
That's not fair. That's a bias for him. Anything Katie Sackhoff.
Hey, come on. Hey, I'm sorry. I will not watch Another Life. Okay, like I draw the line there. But yes, if it's BSG or Bo-Katan related, you know, I fully admit I am totally fanboying out.
I don't think anybody could blame you.
But yeah, this was a good episode. Like, you know, it had momentum from last week, and I guess if you're looking for story, this was more classified as a one-off because there really wasn't much story progression. He went back, he got his ship fixed. While he was getting his ship fixed, well, let's go on an adventure with our old buddies. So, that's pretty much what the crux of it was. But at the same time, Carl Weathers did a really good job directing it. I thought that the action with Cara Dune was pretty awesome. You kind of got to see, it was really interesting when they left that badge there at the end, because I took that two different ways.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that, Drew. We'll hold on to that thought.
I want to jump ahead.
I know you're jumping way to the end. We got to get to the Cara Dune fight. Speaking of all that, so as Drew mentioned already, one of the best parts of this entire episode is the next scene where we are on Navarro and we are in an Aqualish bar. If anybody recognizes them, Pondo Baba from A New Hope. It's his species, the butt faces, if you will. We get an entire bar, or I guess it's not a bar, but maybe like a seedy hangout, like a hovel. Like a back room in a bar or something, a hovel. And you've got the Aqualish kind of doing some shady business, about to cook a ferret rat thing, and boom, in comes Cara Dune in. I thought that was a really cool scene.
No, you know what that was. That was the old Mandalorian enclave they were in.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was the place
I didn't realize that.
Where the armorer was. Oh. And she was what she was doing was making sure nobody, went in and messed it up. Even though it was clear, because I was waiting, honestly, during that sequence for the armorer to show up.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah, that would have made a lot of sense. So Orange Hat Reviews has confirmed something that I don't know why we didn't pick up on. It's a volcano planet. Navarro's a volcano planet, duh. Considering the entire second half of the episode. Yeah. Yes, Nano Reaper, I think we all agree. I think we liked it a little more than okay, but I think we can all agree that the lengths need to be standardized, because it's a complete wild ride. Like, what was last week? Like 25 minutes. This one's 36.
25 minutes with commercials.
Yeah, this one's like 36, maybe 40. And like the season opener was like 45, 50. It's all over the place. I don't really get it, but I think we agree with you. And yes, YouTube me. Entire galaxy, 70% are desert planets, 28% ice, and the rest are wherever they stop on the way to Toronto. Pretty much. And I think Porg pointed it out. You get the occasional forest planet too, like Corvus, that we'll see next week. So Cara Dune kicks some ass in the bar. She does I really loved the move she did where she like rolled over the Aqualish.
Yeah.
And like used his body as and then like backwards rushed him and then kind of just offloaded him. And so we have just a cool scene of Cara Dune kicking ass. Make the friend with the little ferret rat.
We kind of hadn't seen that yet either. We didn't see her in like really kick-ass action, so that was nice.
Yeah, we never really saw her roll on her own. She was always with Mando or Carl Weathers.
And you do MMA?
Wait, what?
Any of you guys do MMA?
Do I look like I do MMA?
Okay. Anyway, I wish we had Jorge here. He would be able to break down some of the moves. And
I'm sure she was.
No, there was definitely some martial arts stuff involved. I mean, it's like that was definitely like more of almost like a judo hip toss type of thing that she did, where she used his momentum against him.
Yeah, and then there was like the grappling on the ground, which was like jujitsu-ish. And then I definitely got like the MMA feel from the way she like picked that dude up and kind of just offloaded him. Almost felt like she was gonna like stone cold stun him.
Her pile driver.
Dude, I would love that. We need a wrestler in Star Wars universe. But
we have two of them already.
Are you talking about the Gamorreans?
No, I'm talking about like Sasha Banks and
Gina
Carano showing up.
Dude, they'll probably have a showdown. I could see that. Put their respective skill sets to good use. But so we have Cara Dune kicking ass. She makes friends with the little rat thing, which I kind of liked because it felt like one of the old props. We talked about I don't know if it was last week or Bounding Live, but we talked about Jabba's little pet, like Salacious Crumb.
Mm-hmm.
Or Salacious Crumb. It was like that kind of puppet. Just very like you could almost see somebody just like shaking it around, and I kind of like that.
I didn't. It needed to have a little more fluidity in the movements.
Yeah, like that. I thought that was part of its charm.
There was a little bit of stiffness in it, and it took away, like, those little ferret toys you can just move around and swish around, and they kind of like move and bend, and that's what I was expecting out of a. Vera Dark's here.
Yeah, Vera's here.
Hey, Vera.
Good point. The WWE is taking over. They've got the USA. They've got Star Wars. They'll probably go take the fight back to the World Wildlife Foundation and get their acronym back. They're going to get drunk with power. But so, Cara Dune, little rat thing. We cut to the Mandalorian finally landing on Navarro. He meets Carl Weathers and Cara Dune at the, I guess you could call it the landing pad, the landing spot, the parking lot outside of town. And we proceed to kind of see what they've been up to since the Mandalorian left them. And we see that in this town, do we know the name of this settlement on Navarro? Did it ever get a name? It's just like settlement. Yeah.
It was kind of nice to see the progress though, because you saw that there was now like as they panned in and the camera sort of trailed and followed, you saw that there was like a bustling marketplace. Mm-hmm. There was and they walk into this building and there's a school, and you can definitely see that progress is being made. It seems like Grief Karga has gone, I guess, as as honest as a black market gangster can. And he's
as honest as a guy who keeps a mithril, or I always forget how to pronounce it.
Indentured servant.
An indentured servant mithril.
But he's proving that he's a pretty good administrator of the town. Apparently Cara Dune's doing a kick-ass job, as we saw as the sheriff. So, it looks like a real settlement.
Here's the thing, though. He said this line, which was like he was throwing shade at the New Republic for being just as shitty as the Empire.
Well, am
I the only one that caught on to that?
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Which line was that? I think I might have missed it.
Yeah, it was like the Empire couldn't really control things coming out of the Outer Rim. What makes the New Republic think they could do any better?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've already seen that the New Republic are kind of dicks. I mean,
and they're kind of, to be fair.
Hey, Reese.
To be fair, if you just go according to the movies, the Star Wars painted the rebels as all the time like they could do no wrong, but they were actually pretty good at bungling things themselves. They don't do things perfect, and obviously policing the Outer Rim is a whole different animal. Because the way that they've established the Star Wars galaxy, everybody knows from the lore the Outer Rim is a crazy place. There's a reason why it's called the Outer Rim, because a lot of stuff goes on there, and I think what Grief Karga is trying to point out is, the New Republic's not going to do any better than the Empire did, because the Outer Rim has a life of its own.
I mean, that's always been one of the key parts of like Star Wars lore, is that the Outer Rims are basically the Wild Wild West.
Yeah,
like that's the part that's outside of galactic control, where you have your smugglers going. I mean, and there's even areas beyond that where like the Yuzon Vong came from, like beyond the Outer Rim. So it's like whole uncharted territory all over the place.
Yeah, I think that comment from Grief Karga was to point that out, that there really is no governmental body that's going to come into play and be able to calm the Outer Rim down. It's just never going to happen.
Right. It's
It's got its
Reaper
own.
saying it right. The Empire had better admins.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that's
guess
why everybody was like, "Long live the Empire," because the Empire had, at least some structure to it.
It's the what was it? The Stalin logic. The at least he kept the trains running. That's what.
Yeah.
But one thing I did that bothered me about their little tour of that town is that Cara Dune is called, they call her the Marshal, and the reason that bothers me is because I just feel like in space you would have, we saw the guy on Tatooine with the Boba Fett armor. He was a Marshal.
Right.
And now we're on a completely different planet with it's like a whole new set of rules and a whole new demographic and populace, and they still use the term Marshal, even though there's no. I just feel like in space you would have something like, oh, we have to take you to the chief, or we have to take you to who's in charge. It's just weird when you use the same sort of term for it.
What are you saying? We need those that really badass dude from Riddick, the Lord Marshal. We need the Lord Marshal. The Marshal isn't good enough.
I'm saying
the enforcer.
I'm saying defund the marshals. No. But yes, so Cara Dune and I always forget his name, so I'm just going to call him Carl Weathers because he's Carl Weathers.
Grief
Karga.
Yeah. I'm going to write that down in this bar right here so I don't forget it. But anyway, Grief Karga and Cara Dune take Mando on a little exploration of the town, and they come upon a school, which is run by a protocol droid. It's got a whole class, and Carl Weathers suggests to Mando, or not really suggests, but Carl Weathers puts him in class, and the Mando goes, wait, he's got to stick with me. And Carl Weathers goes, hey, where we're going, you don't want him to come around. Or it's no place for a child where we're going. So now then we are, I don't know if you would call it treated, but then the next scene is this sort of school scene, I guess, where Baby Yoda is sitting in class. He sees the kid next to him with cookies that are blue because, like I've said before, no food in Star Wars cannot be blue.
It's macaroons.
They're absolutely macaroons.
The kid that was eating it was being all obnoxious. He's one of those obnoxious eaters too. And Baby Yoda's just looking at him like, I'm gonna take your shit, dude. Seriously. And I was kind of happy Baby Yoda took the shit from him. I'm like, yeah.
Sorry, macarons. Sorry, Deviant Pork.
Oh yeah, sorry.
French dude.
The only issue I have with Baby Yoda taking the cookies is again,
they're not moving around.
Well, they're not moving around, but also what is his mental capacity? When does he decide to use the Force? He uses it for this. Is he smart enough to realize he should have used it to stop the frog lady, or push back some of the spiders in the cave, or even killed the spider squid thing on Trask that was about to eat him at the very end of the last episode? Why didn't he use it then? It's just when is he
it's the Kurosaki Ichigo principle. It fluctuates all over the place. There's no consistency. It's based on what will convenience the plot.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah, if you want to get down to the factual part of it, that's what it is. But I guess
the scene was cute. It's just that's the little thing that was eating at me.
Yeah, I guess they are trying to explain it away as he's just having his struggles. I'm not sure if he really understands what he's doing with the Force yet either. So
that's
you kind of get that vibe from it, but I still think that it's what Don said. It's totally to convenience the plot. It's not in the script for this episode, so he's not forcing it up at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Orange Hat says if he wants something, he uses the Force. If he sees danger, he uses the Force. But depending on the strength of the Force exerted, he gets tired. Right. We've seen that, but I feel like there have been so many opportunities where
he was in danger like a couple episodes
Yeah,
ago.
like with what we were talking about, Drew, 2 episodes ago with the like desert gang who like break
The
Mando's bike.
spiders, everything. Yeah.
No, see, it is blue liquid, Don. It's not made from blue milk, but eventually, in the end, when Baby Yoda throws up, it is blue liquid, and I was angry because I was like, "Come on, every liquid is blue."
Oh man.
Yeah, Porg, that's just it. See, it's weird. Mando talks to him about cables, colors, lets him play with electricity. He seems to understand, but in the same time, he's treated like a baby that understands nothing. Yeah, it's just like Don is saying.
Which I love that. I love that scene, by the way, where he was trying to fucking wire the shit.
Yeah. And he just like shocks himself. And they're like, well, we can't do it here. But after Carl Weathers drops Baby Yoda off at the school for his little macaron adventure, him and Cara Dune take Mando to, I guess, Grief's office. Grief's office, and we see the Mythrol from episode 1. Like, I'm pretty sure that was Mando's first bounty that we saw on the show. Yeah, was that guy? Yeah, who
episode 1
throws him in carbonite, takes him back to Grief Karga because he used to work for him and stole some money from him. And we learned that instead of blowing him up or feeding him to the wolves, Grief has allowed him to work off his debt. So now he's kind of like we said earlier, an indentured servant. But as with every Mandalorian episode, we then come to our video game moment, which is the Mandalorian ship is out for repairs. So you get the hey, this is going to take some time. Might as well explore the town. Then you explore the town, and then somebody goes, hey, by the way, it's going to be some time before your ship is repaired. Do you think you can help us out with something? And then that's what Cara Dune does, and the plot is kicked off, essentially. But it's so video gamey, guys. Like it's exactly Nano.
No, I mean, no, it's like I've seen video games do it better.
Oh yeah, 100%.
This one was just like, well, looks like you got some time. Here's your next mission.
Yeah, or it's like those games where like they put you in that area where it's like you have time, go explore, but they don't tell you where they don't tell you where you're supposed to go after that. So like you don't know who you're supposed to talk to for the quest, and you have to go back to the person you like landed with. Like that's exactly how I felt about this. Yeah, Ford called it last week. He absolutely called this plot last week. A lot of us called a lot of this last week.
Yeah, I don't think there were a lot of what sealed
surprises.
The deal was knowing that Carl Weathers was going to direct this episode, and then Dave Filoni would direct the next one.
Yeah, with that,
we were like, okay, Ahsoka Tano's not going to be in this one.
Yeah, we kind of knew that Carl Weathers wouldn't be the one to make or to have Ahsoka Tano debut, but we learn the side quest is given to the Mando, where Cara Dune and Grief Karga explain that even though Navarro is a mostly peaceful planet and their settlement is developing and growing and flourishing, there is still an Imperial base on the other side of the planet. And the reason it's a problem is because it could attract the black market scavengers and scalpers, and Karga and Dune don't want their settlement to fall into that again. They don't want their work to go or to be flipped around again, essentially. Right. So with that, Mando goes, sure, let's go for it. So him and Dune and Karga and the Mythrol hop in a speeder, and they go Final Fantasy VII on the base, and they decide that they're going to go in and blow up the reactor.
Yep.
Just 100% felt like Final Fantasy VII.
It is Final Fantasy VII, but it's a little bit more condensed. Mando is not so much featured in this episode.
He's really not. I mean, that's kind of... We talked about it last episode, and we've actually talked about it, I'm pretty sure, in every episode this season so far. When they get to the base, they're trying to hack into the door, essentially, and they're like, oh, it's busted, so they gotta cut through it with a torch. But instead of waiting for that, the Mandalorian jetpacks on up the platform, kills a couple stormtroopers, comes back down, and the door is open. Cool moment, but it like we've always talked about, it's an off-screen Mando moment. Like, why did it like they did it with the fish last episode where that Mandalorian jumped in the water and you just saw the little like bursts of like light. You saw it on the ice planet. It's just a recurring problem, and it is really weird because it's the Mandalorian, but you don't want to give him the attention.
I think someone else said it in their review last week too. It's becoming a show where the Mandalorian will introduce you to the character of the week.
It's the Baby Yoda show.
Not even that. Like last episode was not so much the Mandalorian, but Katie Sackhoff and Sasha Banks and discount Pedro Pascal.
I think it was
the week before that was Frog. The week before that was Timothy Oliphant. No, not Timothy Oliphant. The other guy.
That was him.
Yeah.
That was Timothy Oliphant.
Timothy Oliphant. I'm thinking about Timothy Chalamet.
Dude, but yeah, I really think that it's probably a matter of time anyway before, with all the rumors of the drama going on set with Pedro. I don't know how long Pedro's gonna stay the main Mandalorian in that show.
Absolutely.
If they don't do a Cara Dune spinoff, I fully expect that somewhere along the way he's going to pass the mantle to her,
or something like that,
or
Ahsoka Tano. Well, what I've heard is once Baby Yoda is handed off to Ahsoka Tano, becomes her thing.
I believe it. I'm pretty sure, Don, it was you and Script Doctor who were saying it last week, which is that this has just become the backdoor pilot the show.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
And considering what we've seen with how they handle Marvel, which is literally every freaking third character gets their own TV series or movie. Yeah, of course. You're going to get, I'm sure Bo-Katan is currently in development. I'm sure Cara Dune was in development at some point before.
Well, no, that's another way that this series could go, because it says the Mandalorian, it could wind up just transitioning to an entire, Bo-Katan story.
Right.
Because there is definitely greater things going on, and there's a lot of fans that would argue that right now, instead of seeing, this dude traipse around the galaxy with Baby Yoda, they want to see what the hell is going on with Bo-Katan and getting back the Mandalorian homeworld.
Well, I think that also speaks more to why people like the Mandalorian so much in general, which is because even though it's still big on the scale we're talking about, Drew, like we had the movies are big, giant space war epics, right?
Yeah.
And they're universe spanning and there's planets blowing up. But the Mandalorian gives us sort of just a smaller story that takes place in this world. So we get to see all like how the world works without focusing on Jedi and the Skywalkers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you know what?
Nice.
I really like the exploration of Mandalorian culture. I mean, I thought last week's episode was great. It was something that was needed because that's one of the things that was universally praised when Star Trek had Deep Space Nine going on, because they really, as opposed to TNG, Deep Space Nine went into depth as far as the Klingon culture,
I remember that,
the Cardassian culture, things like that, and you got to see important. Groups of people, important races, and how they function, and that's always cool to learn, because when we watch these things from a cultural standpoint, I mean, that's one of the things that those are some of the ingredients that make TV so good, especially science fiction television. When you're world building, you want to learn about the citizens and the races in these universes, and what makes the cultures that make this big universe tick.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why some of the most popular old EU stuff was like the Yuuzhan Vong or Admiral Thrawn or even like Palpatine's royal guards, because you just got to see a different element of this universe.
Yeah, and people have been dying to see like really good explorations of the Mandalorian culture.
Because we've never really gotten it in canon. We've had some like good books and comic books, but those were they're EU now or Legends now.
Yeah, all they can do is take from it, but they can't make it like the thing. They can't make it their past, the official past.
Right.
They can only take from it elements to create their own past within the universe. It's kind of like what Marvel did.
Yeah.
They take from the comic books certain elements from, like, they take from the Ultimates. They take from the old school, like, John Byrne,
Simonson,
Walter Simonson stuff. They take elements, but they don't say that the comic books are the canon of the movies. They make their own canon within the movies. They're kind of doing that with Star Wars. They're taking from the comics, not saying that the comics are canon, not saying any of that is canon, even though they said that's canon. And they're making their own canon within the movies. I mean, if they had just explained that to fans, I think that would been better.
But instead we got the infamous quote that we don't have 800 comic books and novels. We don't have any source material. We're making this all up on the fly.
While they are literally those books are canon.
Right. I mean, the entire plot of Return of Skywalker or Rise of Skywalker was taken from the comic books. A clone Palpatine was like the big thing for like 10 years before Dark Horse ended that storyline.
Right.
It's ridiculous. But back to the episode, and we will get to that, Porg and Don. I have an explanation for why it works.
Oh, you have an explanation.
Oh, I do have an explanation for why it works. And maybe Orange Hat will back me up. I really hope he does, because I feel like I'm right. Whoops. But the team, Avalanche, gets into the base, and they make their way up, and they decide that they're going to, blow the reactor. So they get to the reactor core, which is in a fun, I think that was like a fun little poke at like Imperial architecture, because you've got the reactor situated right above the lava pit, and you
got it like really high up. It's kind of reminiscent of the scene in New Hope where Obi-Wan was like,
where he's like sneaking around.
Yeah.
Find Vader. Oh yeah, totally feels like that. But you also get that jab by the Mythrol where he's like, where Carl Weathers is yelling at him, go do it. And the Mythrol's like, what? There's not even a rail. There's no railing here. Like, this is really high up.
The guy kind of cracked me up. He was like,
so I actually kind of liked that he's played by Horatio Sands, and he that humor kind of worked for some reason. Maybe because it was more cynical or natural, but I thought his chemistry with Carl Weathers and the way they worked was fantastic.
It did, because you can tell, like down deep, Karg actually likes him, but he's holding him to the,
like, I can't just let you go.
Yeah,
still screwed me.
You owe me money, and you're gonna work this shit off.
But I love that kind of dynamic when it shows up in media, where he's like, I don't want to do that, and he's like, it doesn't really matter what you want to do. Do you want to stay my slave for 100 more years, or do you want
30 years off your debt?
Yeah. Because it is that, Drew. It is, he likes him, so he's offering him all of these like outs off of his sentence, but he still has to keep him to a sentence. Yeah, I really liked it. But
yeah, and the guy just had good sense of comedic timing. He was good comic relief. Because there's a lot of times you'll see TV shows, something like that, especially sci-fi is notorious for that, because a lot of times they'll try to have, a character in there for comic relief, and it doesn't work, and it completely misses the mark. And then you're like, what the hell? This guy didn't even need to be in the episode. In this case, it did work. It was kind of reminiscent almost of how they used to have the comedy in Stargate, and
yes.
you know, like you would get those episodes, like it was almost like Rodney McKay moment. Like you know, like Shepard would tell McKay to do something, like I can't do that. That's not safe. I can't. You know, that's just something funny. Like Rodney would make 5 million excuses why he couldn't do it, but it's like it's a life and death situation. You got to do it.
No, 100%. Yeah, he's a great character. Definitely because of the comedic timing. I 100% agree with you. And yeah, Dawn and Nano Reaper, it's just Final Fantasy VII. The reactor is above the lava to siphon the energy off of it for what we discover is not a base that they thought it was. They thought it was a forward operating base with just a bunch of gear. They discover it's a lab with some crazy bio experiments going on. We see some not fully formed, I assume, clones of some sort, because we then again, Horatio Sands, the Mithril, he then hacks the Imperial terminal and discovers that the last message that went out was discussing how they
were using Baby Yoda's blood.
They were using Baby Yoda's blood for some experiment because it was he had a high M count, which is obviously midichlorians.
Midichlorians.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And, yeah, exactly. We're bringing it all back. But we don't really get a chance to just... Oh, and then they realize that, wait, this transmission isn't old because it's... Or let me back up. They discover that the transmission is to Moff Gideon. And the Mandalorian goes, that can't be true. He's dead. We saw it happen. And the Mithril reveals that this message is only 3 days old. So clearly he's there. So the with that discovered, the team decides to split up, with the Mandalorian jetpacking back to the town to rescue Baby Yoda just to make sure that he's safe. And the I guess you could call them the Navarro crew, Barrett, Tifa, and Red 13 and all of them, they decide to stay there and fight their way out, essentially, which leads to a scene that Deviant Porg brought up, where the Cara Dune steals a Trexler Marauder, takes it from the base and runs off. It's essentially like a space APC, and they take it and they fly off and they jump off the cliff and they're taken off. And so in pursuit, the Imperials launch speeder bikes.
Yeah.
So you get about 6, 7, 8 speeder bikes that launch after them, and in the process,
that was a cool scene.
That entire scene where the Mandalorian like pops up like out of the lava crevice and like shoots the 2 dudes and then like lands and just like smokes everybody, and then we get the speeder bikes. It was fantastic. I loved every single moment of that. But with the speeder bikes, we have a moment where they deploy, and because they're on a hill, they hit the hill and one rider kind of knocks into the other and it causes 2 of them to explode. And Deviant Porg and I believe Dawn were both saying, why'd that happen? Why aren't the speeder bikes deployed lower? And to that, I point out that entire area was in like a lava drift. That was the whole point of why they couldn't hack the terminal in the first place, is because on that level, all of that gets flooded with lava tide. So you have to have all of your equipment higher up. So the reason they deployed that way rather than the way I believe they're supposed to deploy, because you see that big platform. Like there's that landing platform sticking out from the base, and we see that the speeder bikes can obviously jump and kind of take any height, essentially, because of their hovering. So I presume that's how you launch them normally. You jump off that, or you go off the side, so you've got a decent landing ground and you can aim onto flat ground. But because they're chasing these rebels, they just kind of all logic went out the window, and they had to like get them as fast as they could. So they started taking shortcuts, which resulted in those 2 stormtroopers blowing up.
Yeah, to go back really quick to those weird, like, it looked like experiments in those tubes. There was somebody that, I saw a few zoomed in images of those, and sadly, and I was hoping this was turning away from the sequel trilogy. Those look like underdeveloped Snoke clones.
That's what I was worrying too. Like when they showed him.
So I'm like,
But-
oh man.
Oh, really?
That's kind of what I assumed they were going to be. They kind of look long and gangly. I mean, given they're like in the process of like forming.
Yeah, because when you see one of the zoomed in images of it, that because there were plenty of pictures circulating around the internet of zoomed in images of it. Like, is this a snow clone? Mm-hmm. It looks an awful lot like a snow clone.
Oh, Jesus! Now I need to look.
I mean, I would believe it's a snow clone. It would just be an interesting development, considering, Drew, what you were saying. We've seen them intentionally kind of turning away from the sequel trilogy. The best example is the hologram of the Death Star exploding from episode 1.
Yeah,
of the season. Yeah, where it was the Return of the Jedi style instead of the Rise of Skywalker style, where there was debris left.
Oh, dude, yeah. I think, Drew, you might be hitting the nail on the head. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Polygon,
yeah,
Screen Rant, Inverse, and they all got pictures of Snoke on it. Fuck.
Yeah, and they were doing so good with kind of, I guess, distancing themselves from that, and now you're pulling the sequel trilogy back in, and it's like, fuck, I have no idea why, you would do that based on how badly it was received. It's like, God, I just can't let go of it. Snoke was stupid anyway. I thought the whole thing about Snoke was stupid.
Oh no, everybody thought it was stupid.
But they should have just had the Palpatine clone to begin with.
It's kind of what I've said from the beginning, ever since we started hearing rumors and indications that they were kind of turning away from the sequel trilogy. I always seemed skeptical of it because that's such a big investment for them to throw away. And that would require Disney to admit they were wrong. And if you tuned into this week's Bounding Live, you'll realize they're never going to do it. They're a gigantic bag of dicks wearing mouse ears. That's what
God, they will never do it. And speaking of that was a great stream, guys. Sorry I missed it.
Oh no, don't even worry about it.
But
you're here now.
but yeah, the thing is, Disney will never ever issue an apology or say they were wrong ever,
or pay their writers,
or make a profit.
Yeah, must pay. So,
but yes, so we get a really cool chase scene where we've got speeders tearing through a canyon after Cara Dune and Karga and the Mithril. And yes, Orange Hat Reviews, I do feel that the Mithril was kind of like B.A. Baracus from A-Team. Kind of that straight man to everybody's bullshit is kind of what he always felt like. And definitely with this speeder getting pancaked. Porg, do you really want to get into an argument right now with me about Imperial architecture? Because I'll do it. I'll waste the next 3 hours of your life. No, I'm kidding. I'll yell at you on Twitter. But so we get this really cool chase scene through the canyon that I loved, where you've got Carl Weathers getting on the guns and Cara Dune kind of outmaneuvering. I believe there are TIE fighters that are even launched at one point after them.
Yeah.
It's a full-on chase through this canyon. Yeah, definite mini boss. There's a really cool moment where Carl Weathers has essentially like a top-mounted gun, and he's blowing everything away, but one stormtrooper happens to pull up next to him and jump on top.
The scout trooper's up there, and then all of a sudden, he's able to zero him up, and
he turns the gun on the dude standing there, and just
the dude had the mine in his hand for it felt like 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Before Karga finally turned the gun on him and fired.
Yeah, no,
I had a problem with that whole thing too.
It was definitely a movie moment, like we're holding for purpose. Yeah, definitely. Why'd you have a whole issue with it?
Like, okay, so their targeting system. Whenever they're in the red,
within
that target,
video game
lines
targeting.
up, and then you can shoot them. There were a bunch of times where, even on the Empire side, or what was left of the Empire side,
right, remnants. Or whatever they call
Mando
them.
was within the sights, and the tank was within the sights of the Empire. They fired nothing. Plot armor kept them from getting shot.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, in theory, that was just like that. That's not even a spacefaring craft. I imagine the what's it called? The Trexler Marauder doesn't even have like shields. So I don't. It's definitely plot armor. Like I've got it on right now, and when they break out of the canyon, they're being chased by 3 TIE fighters, and they clearly get them in their sights, and Cara Dune still just blows away. But that itself leads to they emerge from the canyon. They're being chased by the TIE fighters, and it looks like they have their number has been punched or their number has been called when out of the sky, Mandalorian appears in his freshly repaired ship. And
it got repaired mad fast.
That was really fast. That was really fast.
Like those two techs must have been like, god tier friggin' the techs in the galaxy. Like, my God,
Plus Mando
like 3 hours.
teleported. He teleported back to town. He picked up Baby Yoda out of the school.
No, he used the fast travel feature, Don. I mean, come on. He fast traveled back to the settlement.
That was the whole point of going to the settlement, to unlock that travel point.
Yeah. He hit fast travel. That's how he got there.
Jesus Christ.
So he's like, yep, I'm a quick travel back to the settlement, and I'm gonna get in the ship.
I mean, he must have learned that from the Crate Dragon, because freaking the teleporting skills is on point.
He did get there really fast. Like I was ready to defend it, like when I was watching the episode, by like saying, it's not that far. They clearly got there in like a couple minutes or an hour.
Dude,
But then when you see the canyon chase, it's like so long.
Dude, I was laughing because
even if you go up and over,
I'm waiting for somebody. I want somebody so bad to make a meme of that thing from the last episode when he was making that run down the corridor, and threw little bombs in the crowd of stormtroopers. Because like I just, as soon as the first thing that popped in my head when that happened in the last episode was, okay, this is when the tank gets pissed off and finally gets mad because the DPS is stealing all the
pretty
glory.
much, right?
he's like, get out of my way, I'm gonna tank.
I'm just gonna do it. Yeah, exactly.
But
I've got the best armor. I've got this.
but yeah, you get the other RPG element in this episode by him just like fast traveling into the settlement, and it's like, yep. Well,
just super fast. But yeah, no, the ship I think is way more egregious, because not only did they it's like pristine. Like that's how it looks now compared to
freaking showroom new. I'm like, what?
So like not only did they repair all the damage in, so it's got to have only been like 3 or 4 hours, right? Like not only if that, like, so they repaired all the damage we've seen and undid all the weird wiring and connections from Trask and made it like super rad again. Like, yeah, show floor new or whoever said that.
It's showroom new, man.
Yeah, showroom new. It was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, remember the second episode of the first season where he was with the dude, this Nick Nolte's character.
Yeah.
When he was repairing the ship to get it back up and running, and this is like god tier engineer
right,
in terms of the races of Star Wars, it showed a passage of time, like a scene where he's working on something and another scene where he's telling Mando to work on that while he's working on this. This one is just like boom, bop, boom, and we planted a thing in there.
Yeah, I guess at the beginning of the episode when Grief Karga told him, "I'll get my best people on it," he wasn't kidding.
He was not kidding.
He's got like people like, I can repair your shit in a nanosecond, bro.
So ridiculous. But as ridiculous as that all was, we get a really cool scene where the Mando has a dogfight with the TIE fighters, which, if you guys remember why I was the odd man out a couple weeks ago, I love these scenes of starfighters and dogfights and everything. So
the Razor Crest, 100% the Razor Crest versus the TIE fighters. I mean, you had to figure the Razor Crest was going to win anyway because it just had cannons galore on it.
That's kind of my big problem with Star Wars nowadays in general. Is like, the more you keep using stormtroopers as villains, the more it kind of just, that meme pops up in my head that they can't shoot because it's more true. So
even when the target is right,
even when it's
there,
right
in the crosshairs,
even when it's right on you, you can't hit it.
What he was doing during that fight is he was doing barrel rolls.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh my god, this is Star Fox."
That's why I loved it. That's why I loved it.
Barrel roll.
I loved it. That's why I loved it. That's my favorite game of all time. But we also do get, as Orange Hat Reviews points out, we do get Baby Yoda along for the ride in a pretty. Yeah. I thought that was pretty adorably hilarious when he like raised his arms up and he was like, "Yeah!" And then, of course, the Mando is successful. He blows him out of the sky, and we get the appearance of the blue liquid, which is Baby Yoda throws up his macarons. So there's your blue liquid again. I'm telling you, no liquid in Star Wars can be any other color except blue or like green. Like, that's just everything.
Star Trek has green, so they can't take that.
But at least in Star Trek too, you can like have human stuff because all of the food is kind of like generated by the ship. I forget like what that machine is called, but you can go. You can be like, "Hey, can I get a Coke?" Yeah, the replicator. So you can be like, "Hey, can I get a Coke?" And they'll give you a Coke, and that makes sense because you know what a Coke is. But I digress about space food. Afterwards, we get to, so after the Mandalorian saves their asses, they all kind of, the Mandalorian tells them that he can't land, like he's got to get out of here because obviously if Moff Gideon is alive, then it's not safe for Baby Yoda. So Mandalorian takes off. He's out of Navarro, and we get a sort of little epilogue where we see, was that one of the same X-Wing pilots from before? Or is that a new X-Wing pilot?
I think it was
from the ones who
it was
on the ice planet.
Oh,
it
Fat Asian?
Yeah, it was a different guy.
It was a different guy. Okay, so we get a Republic X-Wing fighter there, and it's basically kind of more. They're really using the X-Wing pilots as like cops in this season because he's straight up there with like, "Hey, so you're telling," like he's doing the like witness interview to Carl Weathers, to Grief, and kind of asking him what was going on. You're telling me you didn't know anything, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Grief goes like, "Hey, I don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. I'll let you know if I hear anything." And then we get a moment where we kind of revisit Cara Dune's past, and they touch upon the fact that she is she's from Alderaan. Yeah, she's from Alderaan. She's a rebel veteran. She obviously has a real stick against the Empire. And the pilot asks her, like, "Hey, would you like to join the rebellion? We could really use good fighters." And of course, she declines. I'm not a joiner. I'm not a joiner, Blue. Yeah. And so that's where we get to the scene Drew was talking about at the very beginning of this of our stream, where the Republic pilot puts down a medal, I assumed, of some sort.
Yeah, it's more like an Alderaanian badge.
Yeah. So he puts down this medal for Cara Dune, and he walks away, and she looks at it, kind of rejects it, and then that's where we kind of end the episode, where it pans out on her standing in the middle of the settlement. But
where some people were saying that they think that means she's going to rejoin the rebellion, and I don't think that at all.
I don't think
because the guy clearly, because he stated, I was from Alderaan as well. And
he served during Alderaan.
Yeah,
and basically he I think he left that there more as a keepsake memento for her, but yeah, I think that kind of signified that, like, yeah, she was officially now the sheriff. She is she's definitely that also kind of makes you think, okay, was that the little symbolic jumping off point for a Cara Dune spin-off? Is that going to be her thing, her adventures as the sheriff?
I didn't even see it like that. What I saw it as, the way I read it, was that was sort of a post-service honoring of her time with the rebellion.
There was that too. Yeah,
that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, there was that as well. Yeah,
like he knew her record, obviously, because he had to go and take the report, blah blah blah. So I'm sure he saw, like, he even said it, like, you were a great soldier. So I that's what I assumed it was.
His line to her was so dumb, though.
Oh no, yeah.
Did you lose anybody? And I'm like,
yeah,
you lost your fucking planet. Of course you lost somebody.
Like, even on the off chance that, let's say, like, your immediate family was on vacation to, like, Crate or Hoth or something, right? You still have to have known somebody there, and if not, it's still where you're from. So, like, yeah, it's, like, pretty insensitive to ask her that.
Ugh. Anyway, but yeah, it's just the writing was so bad. I think the writing needed to be stepped up a bit. Favreau's probably under the knife or something.
I think that scene might have been a product of Carl Weathers directing, because that whole ending is very, like, classic, like, buddy cop movies, action movies, where you have the, like, everything's over, but we're not going to tell all the details because we've got the code, right? Like, like I think of, like, Lethal Weapon. I think of, like, Rush Hour. So that's kind of, I think that's what he was trying to go for. But then you put in this, but then he also tries to have that real emotional heart tug, and I just don't think it lands as much as he was hoping.
No, it did not.
But with that, we get one last scene where, is it a post-credit scene or like it's a very pre-credit scene of the Imperials discovering that one of the guys, one of Karga's, or oh my gosh, yeah, Karga, right? Grief Karga, that's his name.
Yes.
Got it. All right, Grief Karga, one of his best men who repaired Mandalorian ship, was an Imperial spy who planted a tracker on the Razor Crest, and that repairman spy reports to an Imperial officer, who then goes and she walks over to Moff Gideon and informs him that the Mandalorian now has the tracker and they're going after him, to which we get the episode panning, like the pan out shot to close the episode, of what looks like a bunch of, I couldn't tell what they were. They looked like heavy stormtrooper armor. But then with the whole cloning of the child, I'm wondering, are they supposed to be like Vader vessels?
All right,
it's all weird because
so the prevailing opinion on that is that those were purge troopers.
Yeah, they definitely look like them.
And purge troopers are more like the ones they would use specifically to exterminate Jedi, things like that.
Force able?
Well, they were mostly robots.
Sensitive?
They were mostly
they were robots specifically because they were going up against Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys are cool.
Yeah, Orange Hat Reviews called it same as I did when the foreshadowing when Grief Karga was telling them, "Hey, repair the ship up to spec," and the other one looks back and eerily looks at the camera and like, that's the villain.
That was a very obvious, like, look at this guy, like, he's going to be doing something, and I was like,
so
come on,
tropey.
Oh yeah, 100% tropey. Tropey.
Okay,
Carl Weathers pulling those tropes out. Okay.
John had a problem with this.
What's that?
I am now having a problem with this. They put a tracker on the ship.
Yes.
What about the fob?
They don't have
What
the
about
fob
those?
anymore.
What about those wonderful fobs that they were using to track Baby Yoda throughout the galaxy in the first season? What happened to that?
I like the fob. The one fob we saw, I know, got like destroyed, but I don't know. It's weird writing. To me, it feels like what Drew was saying, where they were kind of like trying to angle away from the newer stuff and pull back to like traditional stuff. So you move away from that dumb fob and you go back to like traditional beacons. But but no, I agree with you. It's getting really weird.
Yeah, I was like, why don't they just say, "Hey, we got reconnected to the fob that we had placed on the Baby Yoda, so now we can."
That one fob was destroyed.
Well, I'm wondering now. It's funny because so there's an Imperial tracker on the Razor Crest. They're obviously going to start now following the Razor Crest. So are we getting set up for a big showdown on the Ahsoka planet when they go there? And then who's going to save the day? Oh, because by the way, they jacked an Imperial ship. Is Bo-Katan going to come in and save the day with the Night Owls again?
Oh God! Here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Oh, remember that story we wrote where?
I agree, Orange Hat.
Yeah, remember that story we wrote? There was a rumor that we would have a Imperial destroyer in one of the episodes. Boom. There it is.
This is we're standing on top of it. Or standing in it. That's a good point. I didn't even realize that. But yeah, you're 100% on point.
So yeah, rumor confirmed.
Rumor confirmed.
Follow Bounding into Comics for the latest in rumors. We're getting some of them right.
We're getting most of them. We're getting most of them right. I would say we've had a good track record so far. Take care, Orange Hat. I'll probably try and stop by your stream again, like I did last week. But I 100% agree.
Same.
Mando. If the Mando doesn't pick up that he has a tracker at some point, his show is canceled. It's just going to confirm my theory that he is one of the dumbest people in the universe.
I think he is. Oh wait, that was not a destroyer.
Yeah,
Nano
Nano
Reaper
Reaper saying it's not a destroyer. It is, according to that
Assimator class cruiser.
Mm-hmm. It is in one of our stories. I will find it. Mandalorian, Bounding. Oh, we have like a million stories.
I think it was the same one where we talked about Bo-Katan.
No, Bo-Katan was a different one. The ship was its own thing because it came from I remember it came from like a trading card. Where the heck did I put it? I don't remember what I made the header image. Ah, here it is. Pull it over here for the fine viewers if Firefox would listen to me. We have this trading card from Topps got released or like leaked I'd say like a week ago. And you can clearly see that this is what we're looking at. Like I've got this is the ship in the episode. And that's Kara. Bye, Car. And then, so you can see the huge cutout right there in the nose of the destroyer.
Sure.
I mean, obviously we can't see the underside of it, but I'm presuming it would look just like this. And then we never quite make it to the back engines of this, do we?
Yeah, they showed a pretty prominent shot of that.
100%, yeah. So you got the triple engines back there, and then you can see the giant engines here. So I'm pretty sure this is it. And then you're on the bridge. But that is this week's episode of The Mandalorian. What do you guys think? Overall thoughts?
Better than the frog episode.
7. I gave it a 7.
A little less than the crate episode, the crate dragon episode,
right.
And a lot less than the Bo-Katan episode. So I would probably give it a 6.
I think I'd probably land right there alongside with you guys. I think there was some moments that were kind of unnecessary. It was a little drawn out. Again, it's still super video gamey side quest for. It's like event of the week with with one hint at what the real plot is, and then we're gonna get. And considering like how short these seasons are, it just feels like they're jerking us around. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You gonna bell it?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Go.
I had like this thing like we were talking about something earlier, and it's like you're watching something and you're about to climax, and then the old lady walks in.
That what? I didn't hear anything about an old lady climax.
Anyway, so next week is going to be Dave Filoni, right?
Yes.
And then his body pillow, Ahsoka Tano, is going to be showing up.
Yeah, should be the first appearance of Rose McGowan as Ahsoka.
Not Rose McGowan, Rosario Dawson.
Oh yeah, Rosario Dawson.
Oh my god!
Wow, that was a horrible screw up. Rosario Dawson. Rosario Dawson. We haven't seen anything of her either. Like no preview images, no leaks. They're pretty good about that with this show. Like nobody saw Bo-Katan coming.
Well, we kind of did.
Well, I mean, if you knew your stuff, you could make a reasonable guess. But nobody was saying like, leak, Bo-Katan is here. You know what I mean? They're pretty good about that most of the time. And then other times they pull off stuff like this. Come on. This is from this week's episode. In case anybody didn't see, during the shootout, is my screen even being
Share your
shared?
screen,
I'm
dude.
not scared. I'm not.
You're like
I'm so
describing this
dumb.
stuff, and I'm like,
I didn't realize. I'm used to Bounding Live, where it's always shared. My bad, everybody. So here is the first thing I was talking about, which is the Imperial cruiser that was leaked. And what I was talking about is you can very clearly see the cuts in like its nose and the giant engines that are at the back of it. So I'm pretty sure that is Gideon's cruiser that we saw him in at the very end. But yes, this is what they pulled off this week. In the final shootout, when they're escaping the base, you can very clearly see a crew member standing behind them.
It's Jimmy the key grip.
But that is this week's Mandalorian episode. Anybody have any final thoughts they want to add before we close it out and get ready for next week's Ahsoka Tano appearance?
Nice to see Gina Carano.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Dude, okay, so online, they didn't want to label her as a racist because she was being directed by a black man and had to star alongside of a black man. There were some people who were implying it, but they couldn't come out right out and say it.
Right.
Yeah, it's just some scummy people online.
Oh no, it's all scummy. I think Gina's handling it the way somebody should, which is just disgrace and not getting involved with the throwing, like the mud throwing. She's not getting in the dirt. So I just want it to stop.
Yeah. And and then the picture she took of her in costume laying down, kind of taking a selfie. Fantastic.
You'll be seeing a lot more of that. I'm sure it'll be a featured image 9 times or more.
Well, I want to see her actually get the spit off, because I will then really, I will applaud Disney for doing something right at that point. But until
you'll applaud them if they give freaking give Bo-Katan a show.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I would be fine with, because like I don't know if Cara Dune, where she is in the show and the story right now, could carry a show, but I'd be down to see her like just go with the Mando, like hang out with him, be in the show more, co-star, co-headline it. And yes, Porg, we talked about the Gideon message in the blood way back, and we kind of Drew informed us that the prevailing theory right now is that blood is being used to clone Palpatine. Or Snoke rather, and eventually Palpatine, all that crap. And we said we were a little surprised they were turning back towards the sequel trilogy. But so yeah, with that, Drew, any last words?
No, like I said, I thought it was okay. I'm looking forward to seeing how they approach and use the character of Ahsoka Tano next week.
Absolutely.
Interested to see what's going on with that, but yeah, so far the past 2 episodes, the show does have me more invested, and it actually feels like Star Wars.
Yeah, this episode particularly felt it felt actually a New Hope-y to me with the whole like assault on the base.
But the past 2 episodes have kind of, for me, felt more Star Wars.
Absolutely.
And I like that because, it shows that they are trying to make an effort to reconnect a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hold my breath, but it's a good start.
Absolutely. I mean, after Jon Favreau's comment, like in between seasons, when he said like he had that whole spiel about how to treat Star Wars fans, and he like totally understood why everybody was upset. So clearly, that was a good indication of where they wanted to go, and we're seeing it pay off essentially, which is nice. Let's just hope it keeps paying off, and we don't drop in quality really badly.
And I think Favreau's a perv like the rest of us, so I think we can expect good things from him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You've all seen that scene, that clip of him looking at Scarlett Johansson in her black,
right? Oh no,
her Black Widow costume.
Yeah.
Back in the day when Iron Man 2 was happening, and then he did a movie called Chef, where he was in a relationship with Scarlett Johansson, and then he went into a relationship with the Latina lady from Modern Family.
Sofia Vergara.
Sofia Vergara. It's just like, oh my gosh, Favreau, you just freaking casted them, and you freaking put yourself as the main person to get in a relationship with them. Yeah, I know you.
I see your moves.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, with that, I guess we'll sign off on this week's stream. Thank you everybody for joining us. Orange Hat Reviews, Nano Reaper, Deviant Porg, YouTube Me. I know they had to take off. Lopter. Everybody's been here. It was fantastic to talk to everybody. Fenrir was here too. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Just everybody. It's so fantastic to always get to spend a couple hours talking about, good Star Wars for once. I mean,
yes,
it's a nice change.
Period.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Drew.
No, I was just gonna say, make sure that you catch next week's Founding Live, you guys, and also next Thursday. Don't forget, stop by my channel. We are going to be starting on season 3 of Battlestar Galactica. So we're going to start all the Pegasus Actual podcasts will now be on. We're now on season 3. So that's going to be fun and interesting as we talk about what's going on New Caprica.
That's awesome. I'm excited for you guys to get there to season 3 finally. But with that, my name has been Spencer Baculi. It still is Spencer Baculi. You can catch me on Twitter at Kabuto Rider Mav, and you can catch me daily on Bounding into Comics. Like Drew said, please join us next week when we discuss The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda's adventures with Ahsoka Tano on Corvus, and hopefully Dave Filoni doesn't disappoint. And again, join us Wednesday nights for Bounding Live at what time do we go on? We go on at
6 p.m.
Yeah, so
Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Don's the man. He knew it off the top of his head. Time has no more meaning for me anymore with quarantine. But with that, I thank everybody, and I'll pass it off to Don. What do you got going on?
All right. I am Dolphi, the balance of the force, the middle of the lane, the referee, the umpire, the bell ringer, the council of reason, as best as I can be, unbiased when all else has gone insane. Subscribe to my channel. Just look it up. DOLLFIED. That's where you'll find me. Subscribe to these guys. Follow us on Bounding into Comics. We got a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of rumors going on with Marvel starting to kick up some shit in production.
Yes. Don's dropped a couple great articles this past week about these rumors. He goes really into depth, and I would definitely recommend reading them.
Yeah.
I've got some stuff coming up on the YouTube channel as well. As soon as I get some graphics worked out, reviewing the new spring, getting into the Eye of the World, and getting back into some therapy sessions to heal the world gone insane.
And those will be you'll be going to night times for therapy Thursdays.
Yeah. So
we need we still need to do that very toxic masculinity stream, dude.
I think I've got a name for it, and I'll share it with you after the stream, Drew.
Don't give away our plans. But with that, everybody, have a great night. Go enjoy yourselves in quarantine the best you can, and we will see you next week. Take it easy.
Peace.
Night.